And hello, everyone. Welcome. Happy Friday. Welcome to Get a Grip with Coach Elex. I'm your host, Coach Elex. With me, my wonderful co-host.
Stephen the Bird Whisperer.
Oh my God, we have a story for you. Stephen the Medium is in the house. Stephen happens to be my very handsome husband, uh, co-host, uh, amusing partner every day, all the time. Let's begin with that right now. So many of you, if you follow Steven, and you should be following Steven, the medium, following me, and getting to watch our series, Steelix, the series on YouTube at Steven the Medium. You know that we have plenty of adventures, and Steven is on a mission to save every animal in the planet, no matter actually every animal, every critter, everything. If it's alive, he's on a mission to save it. A few weeks ago, he saw an injured seagull and he tried to save it, and he came home injured himself with nearly a leg that was had all kinds of scratches and blood because he nearly fell in the canal trying to get to the bird. And as you know, we went back. We spent hours looking for this seagull, and we were not able to get him. And of course, today, this morning, he goes into the deck to meditate, and before I know it, he's calling me down because there's a critical emergency happening in the deck, and he happens to be a bird that must have hit the glass and was in shock, right? So tell them the story, Stephen.
Oh, you're doing pretty well.
Stephen, the bird whisperer.
Well, and I did, going back to the canal, I did find Henry II. That's how I named him, or what I named him, several times, and each attempt to get him was unsuccessful. And then over the past, I don't know, like a week or so, Henry II is nowhere to be found, so I don't know what happened to him. So I went to go on the deck, and we have this hammock that hangs from the roof of one of the decks. And I put it up and was all set to meditate. And I look straight ahead, like 10 feet from me, and there's a little bird, like the size of a sparrow, just sitting there. So I have just spent the last hour and 20 minutes, as Helix can attest, sitting there waiting for him to get his bearings together so that he can fly. A couple of years ago, a woodpecker did that. Went into our old house, went into a window. So I called this woman who's, look, you remember her, the bird lady, right?
Yes.
So she told me that if something like that happens, to grab them and put them like in a box for about 45 minutes or so, because if they try to fly and they're disoriented, they just become prey to anything that's out there, bigger birds, or if they're on the ground, something that walks on the ground, like coyotes or foxes, whatever the case may be. This was a little bit different. It's not a sparrow. I'm gonna have to look it up, but he is just the cutest thing, and the size of a sparrow, but is sitting up and is slowly getting his bearings. And I thought after 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes that he would have already flown away, and so far he hasn't. So, it's a tough call. Like, should I grab him because is he injured, so I have to grab him? Or is he disoriented? And if he is, I don't want to miss him and then right now he's in this like really safe place on the deck, in the corner near the glass windows. So he's good. And I have been sitting out there, never meditated, and have been sitting out there for an hour and a half. And right before the show, I just went downstairs to check, and he's still there.
Mm-hmm. So,
my life. They wait for me, Elix. They probably say, you know what? I'm going to accidentally like bang into this window, but let's just wait for Steven to come out to do it.
Mm-hmm. And if you know anything about Steven, he has a tendency to be a little bit dramatic about everything.
What?
So you can imagine that this has been like overwhelming drama this morning for both of us. So I think the bird is gonna be fine. He doesn't look injured. He just looked like he's in shock, and he does. I mean, I thought that the lady said that they can be in that state for a little while. So, and it's
Yeah.
best to leave them alone, and eventually they'll come to it, and they'll go back into Mother Nature. So,
Well, and let me just tell you that my backside is very sore because I was half on the hammock, half off the hammock, and not trying to move too much because I didn't want to scare him. And he looks what, about 10 feet from me?
not even. He was not. I don't think he was like 10 feet. Half of that maybe. No, you were literally staring. He was like you were frozen, staring, waiting. I'm telling you guys. I went down. I saw that situation. I went back upstairs because I already know how to deal with these situations. You just let them be, and they unfold however they unfold. There's no point in going anywhere, so just let them unfold. And I come back and he's in the same position, like really focused on the bird and waiting for the bird to do anything. So
And
but
just on a side note, Elix, before we go on, at one point sitting there, a dragonfly came, tried to land on my knee or leg, and then landed right next to me, like on the deck, sat there for a couple of minutes, and then took off. So I think he was just giving me a thumbs up to make sure he knew I was protecting the little bird.
I'm sure. So I'm sure the bird's going to be fine, and you're going to be fine, and we are going to move on, and we're going to have an extraordinary weekend. By the way, this is it's exciting because next week we head to Puerto Rico. How exciting is that?
That is very exciting.
So we have a week. We're gonna take my mom to Puerto Rico and to her home, where she gets to go back to her house and do whatever she needs to do. And she's got some medical appointments. So it's exciting because it gets us to have a little week off ourselves.
And do a lot of fun things.
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. Steven, what else is going on?
Well, there's a lot. You mean besides the bird?
Yeah, besides the bird, that's
Because
today's
right now, that's all in
event.
my head. It's just the bird. Just the bird.
I am aware. I've been married to you for 30 years, so yes, I am aware of the current situation. So, what else besides the bird, Stephen?
Well, there's definitely some, as always, some amazing things going on backstage that we're working on. So I'm really excited about that. So there's just a lot going on, but it's all good.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that you're getting to is those of you who are listening, who follow us, stay tuned because we'll be making an announcement very soon about providing, coming up with an opportunity for people who follow us, who are fans, to spend some time with us and come to our house, have dinner with us, and have spirit, conversation and a nice meal
Reading.
set. Yeah, reading a nice meal by Chef Elex, and just be part of a little bit of what happens with Stephen and you and Stephen and I, you and me. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We don't have a lot of the details yet, but we will. And once we're ready, we'll make an announcement. We'll let you know how you can be a part of it.
That's going to be very exciting and so much fun.
I think so. I'm really, really excited about. And you know what else I'm excited about?
What?
I'm excited about today's show. Today's show, we have our friend again, Kathy Clabby. And
Yay.
yeah. Kathy's going to talk about, going from fear to freedom, how to channel your inner spirit. And why I like that is twofold. First of all, fear is one of those things that we can all relate to. It's part of our humanness, to be afraid. And this conversation it's not really about to stop being afraid, because being afraid is part of who we are. This conversation is about learning to, embrace the fear and not allow the fear to stop you from pursuing what you want. But most importantly, it really connects what you do and what she does, which is that connection to spirit, our inner spirit, and spirit in general. And I love that, Stephen, because I living with you has given me an opportunity to practice connecting the two, and I think it's one of the most uh, amazing things for any human being who wants to, uh, you know, step into what's next for them. Would you agree with that?
I have to agree. Absolutely.
Yeah, so so you got to tune in. By the way, Kathy spent 27 years as a senior manager in a corporate world. She now runs her own business as a professional, intuitive, and channel. Kathy's work is focused on connecting people with universal guidance and wisdom in a no nonsense kind of way. She brings through messages meant to expand people's view of themselves and what they're capable of, and offers clear pathways for how to put their wisdom, that wisdom, into action in their real day to day living. And Stephen and I had an opportunity to get a reading from Kathy, so I can't wait to tell her, Stephen, having really listened to what she had to say and the things that have happened since then, how we have really been on the court as it relates to listening to her messages and putting that wisdom, if you will, into our daily practice.
Well, and
So
how on point they were.
how very much on point. So I think it's time to take a break. Let's do that. And when we come back, we are going to talk about going from fear to freedom, channeling your inner spirit with my wonderful friend, Kathy Clabby. We'll be right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I'm your host, Coach Elix. With me, my wonderful, very handsome co host.
Attorney Masick is here.
Attorney Masick, Stephen the Medium is here, and Bird Whisperer today is
That's right.
also here. By the way, those of you who listened to the first segment, the bird's still there, um, in that unconscious state, if you will, but he's alive. So, with that said, we have a wonderful show today, going from fear to freedom, channeling your inner spirit. And I am happy to have my friend Kathy Clavey back. Kathy helps people stop doubting their own inner wisdom and start living a life fully aligned with their spirit. But what does that mean exactly? We're going to talk to Kathy about that right now. Hello, Kathy, and welcome, and thank you for joining us again.
Oh, it's so good to be with you guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I'm glad the bird's doing okay.
So am I,
Thank
Kathy.
you, Kathy.
You and me and the rest of the world, because I can't imagine what it would it mean otherwise. But nevertheless, we're so excited, Kathy. By the way, Stephen and I had a whole conversation because we remember your last reading, and we have so much to tell you, so much to revisit, because there's so much that has happened that is so aligned with what you told us, that
Wow.
we're really excited to share that with you. But we'll leave that for a little later, because I'm sort of curious if you have any new messages for us later on. But for now,
Good.
Kathy, what I want, I'm so excited to have you back. But let's, for those of you, those listeners who are tuning in for the first time, tell us what you've been doing, what's been going on with you, with your life, and your business since the last time you were in the show.
Holy moly. It feels like it's been a year and it's been probably a couple months, you know?
Yes.
Um, so much is opening up. Alongside all of the work that I always do with individual people, I've been starting to do little workshops, and I'm about to launch my first longer workshop, which is exciting, and did a whole overhaul of my website, which took way longer than I thought it was going to, and took my first trip to Maine. I just went and visited Maine for the first time. It was such an experience, and it was wonderful. So that's probably a whole lot of condensing everything that's been going on.
And that is exciting to hear, and honestly,
Yeah.
so well deserved, Kathy. And I know that you will continue to expand and continue to share your beautiful gift
Mm,
with the entire world. You deserve that, and
mm,
much more. Now, Kathy, I told our listeners that you spent 27 years as a senior
yeah.
manager in the corporate world,
Yep.
and but now you left that and decided to run your own business as a professional intuitive and
Yep.
channel. So let me ask you, what made you decide to share your gift as a business? Because there's many people in your position, but they have no
Hmm.
idea how to get started. What was your first step?
Oh, wow. Um, wow, what a great question. I think it really depends on if it is for you something that you really are. For me, it really does feel like a calling. Like I have this gift and I feel so called to share it.
Mm,
And then there was a heck of a lot of figuring out how do I do that? And then more than that, frankly, because you can Google anything right these days, so you can figure out enough about the how of it. Mostly, what there is to do, I think, is to move beyond all of the thoughts and conversations and ideas that I certainly had about myself, saying, who am I to do this? I can't do that. What are people going to think? All of those kind of negative kind of conversations that would stop you, right? And it's mostly moving through that for me that was the bigger hurdle than figuring out the structuring something and all of that.
Now, you talk about this being a calling. Stephen, you and I have had this conversation many times. You have anything you want to add to that, Stephen, from your perspective?
Well, I think leaving a stable position, a stable job for that many years, maybe in the same industry and starting your own business, I think that alone, a person has to be so courageous and so brave, and you have to be in a certain internal place as well as external place to be able to do that. But I think coming from Kathy and I having similarities and being under the spirit umbrella, I think though when you add that sort of like that arena to this, so you're not only leaving this business to start your own business, but it's also like a business that is up for grabs, and I mean by people making comments or it being very subjective, and it's not, well, I'm going to leave my business, I'm going to start my own CPA firm, which is it's more of a science. This isn't. So even I think it even brings you, Kathy, to a level of even more of a minority of people that have been in your shoes and have accomplished this. So I think it's just amazing.
Yeah, it's really.
Go ahead, Kathy.
I was just going to say, it's really, Stephen, I really get it, and I thank you. First of all, thank you. I got that, and it's, I think a lot of things take courage, and it does, and one of the things I'm very focused on and committed to, and really kind of looking for how to bridge it. I would say there's jobs that are mainstream, and then there's jobs that are not quite so mainstream. But, that whole world of being under the spirit umbrella, I love how you said that, is not something that we mostly consider mainstream, and it's certainly becoming more and more so. But it really is something that is inherent for all of us. And we just don't have a lot of access to it. We haven't had a lot of training with it. So it kind of lives in this mysterious place. So I want to kind of end a lot of the mystery and really make it more available and accessible, because it's everybody's gifted, but mostly people just don't know how to access that. So,
yeah, and Kathy,
like you said, go ahead. Yeah.
No. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, just like you were saying, how much you've opened up just by being around Stephen, and the depth it brings to everything else that you do. It's when we tap into our spiritual side, our spiritual senses, so to speak, it just enhances everything that we're already doing.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And why I kept interrupting you is because when I listen to you, there's so much that I'm so connected to, Kathy, and I know people listening from all over the world can connect to. Couple of things you talked about, those self-limiting voices that we all have, right? We all have them, but I think it's also important that we all recognize that those voices are there because they're there to validate the fear that's in the background. But this journey, it's not about getting rid of that fear, because fear is part of our humanness. Like I said at the beginning of the show, this is, courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is being able to take action in spite of the fear. So it's about really learning to cope and embrace the fear. By the way, the fear is our friend. It's there because it wants to help us. It wants to keep us safe. and we need to learn how to listen to it and how to take action in spite of that fear. Having said that, I do have a question because we talk about, what you do in the spirit realm, both you and Stephen. So my question is, how can you connect that spirit, inner spirit intuition to interrupt that fear that runs our lives? And
Yeah.
what can we do right now to access that connection, Kathy?
Yeah. Um, so, gosh, there's so much that I would want to talk about inside of everything that you just said, Elix. It was so good and so rich. Um, I would back up and say, in regard to fear, right? Yes, we can embrace it. Yes, it can teach us. Yes, it's a part of our humanness, and it's and you're absolutely dead on. Part of what we get stuck in is trying to get rid of fear or waiting until we're not afraid, and it's not going anywhere. And even even more than just embracing it,
Mm,
there's something that if we can begin to recognize that the fear arises from a place where we have we've literally, it's like there's this relationship, like we're separate from each other, we're separate from spirit, we're separate from other people, we're separate from everything. I'm
mm.
over here, you're over there, and the fear arises in the separation. I'm not saying that very well.
I,
But
I
when we
totally get it. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, good, good. When you One of the biggest things you can do to interrupt the fear is to get present. See, when we're in that space of separation, most often we're in our head, we're in our mind. We're talking to ourselves, we're paying attention to all those stories, we're paying attention to past events that have happened that we go, oh, that didn't go so well, so I don't want to go there again. And we kind of replay all those old tapes and pay attention to that. And it keeps us stuck in this place of being separate. But if you can get present, that starts to dissipate and you can get connected with yourself in a different way. So one of the quickest ways you can do it is just stop and look out in front of you. Literally look at what you see. Oh, I see a pillow. I see a doorknob. I see a window. I see a door. I see a light switch. And you keep saying everything that you can see until you start being present to, oh, I'm in this room. I'm not in that old story. I'm actually right here, right now. And you
Mm.
start to just get a toehold and a foothold, and then you step into being more present now. And that
Kathy,
starts to shake up.
yeah,
Yep,
I love what you're saying, and I want to keep expanding on that. We do need to take a break, Kathy, so hold on to
yep,
that thought. We're going to
I
take a
will.
break. When we come back, we'll continue this amazing conversation with my friend Kathy Clabby, how to go from fear to freedom, channeling your inner spirit. We'll be right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I'm your host, Coach Elix. With me, my wonderful co-host,
Stephen Frederick, the medium, is here.
barely here because he's, looking at the bird every single time we take a break just to make sure the bird is still there, and it's still there. And we're so excited to have our friend Kathy Clabby back. We're talking about, how to shift from fear to freedom, how to channel that inner spirit. And Kathy, welcome back.
Thank you.
We've been talking about fear and how fear it's part of our humanness and how it gets in the way of us really connecting to what it is, doing the things that we love, our calling, right? And you talk about one of the ways to interrupt that fear is to get connected with yourself by being present, being in the moment. Kathy, you also, you talked about, those stories that we have, right? That keep us back in, in that place of, well, I'm not going to do that again because the last time I did that, it didn't go out, it didn't work out too well. I recently read a book, The Gap and the Gain, and it talks about one of the things that the authors talk about is that when we're in the gap, we're focusing on the stories, but he argues that those stories are really made up narratives, that we make them up. They're not real. Would you agree with that, Kathy?
Oh, 100%. 100%. If you and I are both in the exact same set of circumstances, exactly the same, and then Stephen comes in, hasn't been there, and asks me what happened, I'm going to tell him one thing. And he asks you what happened, and you're going to tell him another thing. Your story about what happened is not going to be the same as my story about what happened. But I'm going to live like mine was true, and you're going to live like yours is true. And that's our life. We do that all the time. Over and over and over. And then we base our lives and our choices and our decisions on our story about what we think happened, not what actually happened.
That's wonderful, Kathy. Now, last week we did a show on coping with recession anxiety. How would you use turning our intuition, right, to help us find balance in everything that is happening currently in this world and the challenges that we're facing today?
Yeah. There's so much. God, the first thing I would say about that is limit your time on either social media or the news where we're constantly being bombarded with stories, just to go back to that,
Yes.
about how horrible this is and how horrible it's about to be, because it creates a world that may not be real for you or me, but it creates a world for us to live into. Now, I'm not saying don't be misinformed or don't be uninformed. For sure, there's something to be responsible for, but there's a difference between the facts and everybody's opinion about the facts or everybody's extrapolation of the facts about the potential, horrific things that could happen. That's one of the first things I would say is to really get present to what's so. If there's some concern about your own finances or whatever, then actually sit down with them and get what's so. Okay, if worst case scenario, how's this going to impact me and what am I going to do? So that there's a reality that you're present to in terms of this is real, this is what's so, this is the amount of money I have, or this is the potential if it all goes, if I lose everything in the stock market, what is that going to look like? And actually walk it through versus the drama of oh my God, this is the world's going to end and it's an apocalypse or what, I'm,
Hmm.
I'm being dramatic now, but it's, that's the kind of bombardment that we get. And then we get caught up in the drama of it, and we're not related to what actions do I need to take? It's
Mm.
again, we hop out of being present in what's really happening, and we get locked up in that story.
Stephen, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I love I love the question, Elix, and Kathy. I love your response about stories, and I love what you just said about just a couple of minutes ago about if you asked your perception of a story as well as Elix, how they're going to be different. I think there's a lot of people that don't know that or don't think about it. They're not curious about it. They just may think, well, no, if they had the same, if they were there in the same experience, what their stories are going to be the same. So I think what you said about stories is is profound in also connected to what you said about the first step about being in the present. I think those are, I love when people give things that people can start doing right now. But the story piece is I just think it's amazing. And when I teach my classes, I always tell people that with stories, it's every time you go back to that memory, you add whatever you're feeling at that minute or moment, and it keeps changing and changing and changing, and it's so far removed from where it originally started from. So I think that story conversation, Kathy, is pretty good.
Oh, it's unbelievable. You can change your stories. There's a story I used to tell constantly about what this or that was like when I was a kid. And then with a lot of work in my relationship with my mom and my family, when I now look back at my childhood, the story I tell is completely different.
Wow.
Completely different. Completely different. I'm moved to tears by how loved I was versus, oh, the divorce and the this and the huh. So but it really, for me, it's like, oh, wow. I mean, I remember realizing one day that I actually now live like I had a different childhood than I used to live like I had.
That's incredible because when I just talked about being in the gap or the gain, that's one of the things that the author Dan Sullivan suggests is that since the story is made up, we're making it up anyways, right?
That's
We
right.
then have access to make up something else, reinvent a whole new
Yep.
story, and you then have the power to go from something that is bad, ugly, negative to something else because it was made up to
Completely.
begin with. And when you make up
Right.
something like you just said that empowers you, it puts you then immediately in the gain, not the gap. So that's really, really wonderful. Now, Kathy, we need to take another break, but when we come back, I
Hmm.
want to talk about your new workshop, From Fear to Freedom. I want to know what this is and how, what would you tell our listeners they could do immediately that will take them, put them in action as it relates to shifting their current reality. So let's
Good.
take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with my friend Kathy Clabby. We'll be right back.
Okay.
And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I'm your host, Coach Elix. With me, my wonderful co-host,
Steven is here.
Bert Whisperer, is here, who is completely
Obsessed.
focused on obsessed. Really, that's the word with the bird. But most importantly, we're here with our friend Kathy Clabby. Kathy, welcome back.
Thank you.
Kathy, you
Can
have.
I just, oh,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just jumping in. I just want to give Stephen something about the bird. Could I do that
Yes.
really quickly?
Yes,
Of
please.
course.
Stephen,
Kathy, I'm begging you, please.
Steve, Stephen, hand
Yeah.
to heart. And I actually mean you could put your hand on your heart. If you just connect with the bird, just like you would connect with spirit, you'll be able to know that the bird is okay or what
I'm
the bird
trying.
needs.
I'm
Just
trying,
let go
Kathy.
of, yeah, just keep letting yourself be there. And it may be hard because we're in the middle of a radio show, so you're kind of but I'm serious. You're engaged with something in one way, but if you kind of let yourself be in the same place you might be when you do a reading with someone and then connect with the bird, you'll know it's
Great
okay.
advice. Great advice.
Kathy, it has nothing to do with the radio show. It's hard because when it comes to his love and emotions for animals, he is all in. He can't think beyond, oh my God. So yes, that's
It's
probably
it's
why he can't
really
connect.
but it's really good with what you're saying because you're going right back into fear. And it's that place where we go where we separate. So that fear that the animal's okay or not is where you separate. And if you remember that you're connected, we're connected to all of life, to every person. And you can connect at any time to spirit, to other people, to animals. You really can. And
Thank
just
you,
allow
Kathy.
yourself, yeah,
I think
yeah.
that
And then,
that alone is so profound. Go ahead, Kathy.
Yes, yes.
yeah, you can then send the bird your energy and it will take what it needs.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Kathy.
I love that.
Okay.
Kathy, tell us briefly about your new workshop, From Fear to Freedom.
Yeah. I'm so excited about this. Well, and here's the thing that's kind of funny to talk about. So the workshop is a combination of me teaching as well as the guides that I work with leading. So in some parts, I won't be leading at all. They will. So do you know Abraham Hicks at all? Have you ever
I
heard of
don't.
Abraham Hicks? Okay.
No.
And the law of attraction?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
we do.
yes.
Yeah, that we
Okay,
know
that's
plenty of.
Abraham Hicks. That's
Okay.
Oh, great.
Abraham Hicks.
Yes.
Okay. And there's a woman named Esther Hicks, and she channels a being named Abraham. And that's where all the law of attraction came from. And
Oh
Esther
wow.
will walk out on, yeah. And Esther walks out on the stage and she says hello, she closes her eyes, and then Abraham talks through her. That's what I do. So there's a part of this course that will be channeled, and then and so they've been giving me exercises and they've been walking me through pieces of it so that I'm dealing with. Believe me, it's like, man, you're going to start leading a course on fear, from fear to freedom, and every place I'm afraid in my life shows up in Technicolor. I've been dealing with everything I'm afraid of, and then and getting swamped in my own reactions, and then dealing with them the guides telling me, okay, now do this, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Blah blah, because I'm so stuck in it. But I've got to walk through it if I'm going to teach it. So the experience of bringing this course out has been life-altering, to say the least, and I can't wait to share with people what that has been, because the result of it really is this opportunity to then be in life not disconnected and still having that fear show up. So having that fear show up, but seeing it like you would see, your shoes on the floor. It doesn't have it doesn't have a charge. It shows up. Now, the minute I say that, watch, the next thing I'm afraid of is going to show up completely charged. Right? But it's, so it's moving beyond the fear, because you're moving beyond the separation. And when you move beyond the separation, the fear falls away. And you're left being in life connected. And when you're connected, literally what you can see changes. The opportunities change. The available things to act on change, and the freedom with which to act changes. And the experience of being in life in your power is what you get left with. So that's kind of the course, the workshop in a nutshell, and it's going to be very interactive and hands-on, and we'll do some small group work and exercises, and I'm excited. It'll be fun.
And how would people get more information if they're interested, Kathy?
Oh, right on the website. So it's just kathyclabby.com, and it's right on the front page. There's a link to it, or there's a link under the events tab.
So if you are somebody who desires to play big and fear has been getting in the way, this is your opportunity to do something really awesome that can help you confront the fear.
Yeah.
Kathy, are you going to do these classes in person as well as remote, like Zoom?
Right now it's going to be on Zoom. I don't know about doing them remote. I'm sorry, in person.
In person, yeah.
I just haven't even looked at where would I do that venue-wise, and I think mostly because when I started everything, we were in the middle of COVID. So when I started leading workshops and everything, it was in the middle of COVID. So it's everything started online, and it just makes it available around the world. That way.
I love it. Kathy, I don't want to miss out the opportunity for you to give Stephen and I any other messages we must be getting from you. Do you have anything for us?
Of course I do. I was already creating and preparing that beforehand.
Well, I got to be honest. Kathy's, you've already given me some really spectacular advice, Kathy, about the bird. So I thank you very, very much for that.
Yeah. So, but I need something. It's not all about you, Stephen. It's not all about you, Stephen. You got plenty today.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You crack me up. All right. Well, I'm shuffling away. I'm shuffling my cards again. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the cards because it's the quickest, frankly. Ooh, I got the World right off. That is for you guys. Okay, so sorry. Sometimes the card just shows right up. So it's the World. So I wish I could show it to you. Oh, I just do. So this card is about standing, knowing that you are the author. This is Elix. This is you. This is knowing. You got to be in life knowing that you are the author of it. You're the author, and you are the creator of what's happening. So if there's something that's, I don't know if it's around the Puerto Rico trip. It doesn't feel like that. It still feels like there's some big project that it's like a world that you're birthing. And it really is that you're bringing something into existence that is a world. It's not a small thing. It's a big thing. And you're there. This is really about that space of knowing that there really is nothing out there. And into nothing, you can create anything. And standing in the face of that and bringing everything that you are to it and creating and knowing yourself as that kind of a creator, as that kind of an author, stepping out into life, bringing life to life and expanding yourself, expanding the project. The project is just the vehicle through which you expand, life expands, and then people around you get to expand. So it's a lot about expansion, Elix.
I love that. Yeah, I connect with it. Actually, I think both Stephen and I. What about for Stephen?
Okay, hold on. I'm coming back. I had to get up and walk. Sometimes I have to get up and pace. So I walked away. Hold on. Shuffling Stephen into these cards quickly. One more shuffle. I'm watching the time. I don't want us to get cut off before we get to Stephen.
No, we're fine.
Okay.
Kathy, we're the authors of this radio show.
I got the world again. I swear to God, I got the world again.
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
Hard, and I sat there and shuffled it. Now, here's the cool part. This time it came out reversed. That reversals can mean a bunch of different things. Stephen, with this reversal, it means you got to step even more fully into there's a level of ownership you need to take of being the author. I think Elix can tend to be the driver. When you guys drive in a car, does Elix drive?
Yes.
I get it. Elix,
He sits in the
that.
passenger seat, and it's like driving Miss Daisy.
Yes, I get that. I totally get that. And it's a little like, Stephen, you got to start to relate to yourself as much of a driver. You just have a different expression. But in whatever way you don't relate like you're creating a world, you got to let that go because it's in the way. It's in the way in more than just this project. There's whatever the two of you are working on, but then what's right there for me right now, Stephen, with you is the classes you do when you're working with people who are developing themselves in their own mediumship.
Yes.
The more that you're able to step into that, the bigger the energetic space is for them to step in. The more you expand your energy, the bigger energy that people have to step into, and therefore theirs expands even greater, you see? Mm-hmm. So this is a prompt for you to keep looking and discovering, and Elix, this isn't a bad one for you either, but look at all the places that for you, just like we were talking before, those stories about, oh, I'm not like that.
Yeah.
I'm not that kind of a person. That's just something you picked up along the way. That's not the truth either.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so there you go. Messages.
Seriously, Kathy,
oh, I could talk to you guys for hours.
I think this was exactly what we needed at the right time, the right place.
Absolutely, Kathy.
We so love you for it. And listen, you've earned yet another you have an unlimited invite anyways, to come back anytime. These conversations are so rich. And so I know our listeners will get tremendous value from listening to you. So thank you, Kathy, so much. Again, where can people find you, Kathy?
At my website, kathyclabby.com.
So kathyclabby.com, and that's Kathy with a K, Clabby with a C, correct?
C, correct.
Yeah, very good. Kathy with a K, Clabby with a C. And you can always look at find this episode on anywhere where you listen to your favorite podcast. It should be playing within the next couple of weeks or so. Kathy, thank you so much for joining us. We love and we appreciate you beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Love you
it's
guys.
been wonderful.
Love you guys. Have a great time in Puerto Rico.
Thank you. And we come to the end of our show. I really didn't want the show to end. Seriously, Stephen.
No, I remember when Kathy was on the first time, it was the same thing in a blink of an eye. Like, where did that go?
Yeah, I'm still blown away that we both got the same card, and the message could not have been any better.
Absolutely.
See, so on point.
No question.
So, Stephen, where can people find you?
StephenTheMedium.com and Stephen the Medium all over social media.
Or at the local, wildlife center or whatever they call
Well,
today, somewhere.
wherever there's animals,
Yeah,
right?
you'll find Steven. And you can find me at Coach Helix anywhere on social media. Thank you again, everyone, for listening to our show. And we will not be here next week. We'll have a replay and we'll come back the following week. So have a wonderful rest of the week. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you, everyone. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.